Have you ever written a message with all your heart, erased it, and then typed it again only to encounter silence? It's like shouting into the void in a crowded room. The silence seems louder than any rejection, and you start to question whether you said something wrong, whether you're not talented enough, and whether you should try harder. But here's the harsh truth. The further you run, the further they run. Running to get their attention not only confirms their power, but it also steals your honor one message at a time. So why do we do it? Why do we feel the need to create silence? You're here because you're tired of feeling ignored and treated like an afterthought. The problem is that most people come to this situation in a state of desperation, thinking that explaining, justifying, or apologizing for their presence is the answer. But Stoicism teaches us one important lesson: control what you can and let go of what you can't. You can't make someone reply, but you can control how you react to their lack of interest. Today, I'm going to show you 6 strong ways to change the script. These aren't just tricks, they're real tools based on self-respect and emotional intelligence. When you use them, you won't just break the silence, you'll make them disappear. I want to be with you. Each step will force you to reclaim your worth, change the subject, and tell them that their attention is a gift, not a right. I promise that if you learn these techniques, you'll stop pleading for attention and start getting it without having to say a single word of desperation. Quiet power plays to people's natural desire to know more. This is about being the most powerful version of yourself, sure of yourself and unforgettable. Are you ready to stop chasing and start attracting? Are you ready to reclaim your power? If so, keep reading, because what I'm about to share will change the way you deal with silence for good. Let's start with the most powerful response of all: saying nothing. Let the silence hurt you. The silent sting. Let your time be there. Have you ever noticed that silence is the loudest thing you can say? If someone ignores you, you might send them another text or ask them to explain. Ironically, chasing them makes them devalue you more. Imagine you're holding a handful of sand, and the tighter you grip it, the faster it slips through your fingers. In the same way, holding on to attention makes you seem less valuable. So what happens when you stop holding on? What happens when you just let go? That's where the power lies. When someone ignores you, they expect you to respond. They expect a follow-up message, an apology, or an emotional outburst. They expect you to fill the silence to reassure them of your interest. But when you meet their lack of interest with calm, deliberate silence, it forces them to confront something unexpected. The void you leave behind is not weakness or passivity. As the Stoics knew, being different from a wrongdoer is the best revenge. That's why when they retreat, you don't pursue them. Instead, you retreat yourself, calmly and confidently, reminding them that their presence is optional and not guaranteed. Let me ask you something. If someone constantly ignores you, are they really worth your time? If you can lose their attention so easily, should you be trying to get it back? Silence forces them to contemplate these issues independently. You don't argue or provide explanations. Instead, you simply vanish, leaving them to ponder what transpired, why they aren't reaching out, and did I lose their interest? This is how the plan works in your mind. Usually, people only recognize the value of something when it's no longer present. When you depart, your presence, your messages, your warmth, and your work leave an irreplaceable void. It's like turning off a light in a dark room. The lack of that glow is suddenly overwhelming, and they start to miss what they once didn't care about. This is where Stoicism comes in again. It's not a trick to get people to pay attention to you. Your silence shows what your limits are. You're not being quiet because you want them to chase you. You're being quiet because you refuse to ask for attention that isn't yours. Your silence says, I respect myself enough to walk away from what doesn't serve me. If you keep giving your energy to someone who doesn't value it, you'll be like a broken vase trying to hold water. No matter how much you give, it will leak out and leave you empty. But when you stop giving, the empty feeling is clear, and sometimes that's all they need to wake up. I know what you're thinking. No, being quiet won't make you seem cold or rude. It's actually a choice to match their energy. If they've pulled away, you step back. If they don't respond, you stop asking questions. Your actions, or lack of actions, will reflect their behavior back to them like a mirror. Here's where it gets powerful. Over time, they'll start to notice the silence and realize you haven't double-texted, checked in, or begged for answers. That realization will hurt more than anything you could say. They'll start to ask themselves, did I mess up? Why aren't they reaching out? What if I lost them? The silent sting is beautiful because it protects your pride. You're not lowering yourself to chase someone who isn't interested in you. Instead, you're showing them without words that your presence is a privilege. That kind of quiet confidence is magnetic. Yet you must accept their silence as an answer. If they don't notice your absence or don't return, that's your cue to move on. Stoicism teaches us to accept what we can't change. You can't make someone see your worth, but you can choose to honor yourself by walking away. Here's one last thought. What's stronger than pleading for attention? Let your departure demonstrate your worth to them. It's not empty to be quiet. It forces them to confront the reality of their actions and the repercussions of disregarding you. Therefore, the next time someone disregards you, resist the temptation to confront them. Don't explain, justify, or beg. Let your silence speak for you. Sometimes the strongest statement you can make is just not saying anything at all. If this hits home for you, please leave a comment below. Together, let's reclaim our power and remind everyone that our value is independent of their response. Spark 2. The strategy of breadcrumbs. Spark want to know, not desperation. Not desperation, but interest. Imagine sending a sincere, well-thought-out message, but instead of getting a response, you get silence. Your first instinct might be to fix it by sending another message to explain yourself or prove your worth. But stop and ask yourself why you feel the need to chase. What does putting in more effort accomplish when the other person has already chosen not to respond? The truth is that desperation is not attractive. It pushes people away when you over-explain or send long, emotional paragraphs. It makes you look like you know what to do, which doesn't lead to a relationship. Hungry and simple to forget. Stoicism tells us to be careful and deliberate in what we do. For example, when you face silence, don't react with chaos. Instead, react with calm. Here's where the breadcrumb approach comes in. It's subtle, on purpose, and incredibly effective. Instead of sending them everything you think of, you drop just enough to get them interested. A breadcrumb doesn't demand attention. It invites it. It leaves them wondering. It sticks in their mind. And most importantly, it changes the power dynamic. Have you ever read a book and had to turn the page because you couldn't stand not knowing what happened next? That's the psychological pull you're creating when you use breadcrumbs in your messages. Instead of sending a desperate follow-up like, "Hey, why haven't you responded? It just crossed my mind." Take a moment to think about what that message means. It's open-ended and vague, and they can't ignore it without at least thinking about why it came at that time and what made them think of me. Suddenly the energy shifts. You're no longer chasing them, and they're showing interest. Here is one more example. There was something that reminded me of you, but it's difficult to articulate exactly what it was. It makes them consider what they saw and why I came to mind. Was it good or bad? After becoming interested in you, they think about you. Because it's in our nature to want to finish what someone starts. When they leave an unfinished sentence, a vague message, or an unanswered hint, our thoughts naturally want to fill in the blanks. That's how we're built. We seek answers, and leaving clues creates a subtle yet alluring path. Consider the phrase, the gap that draws them back toward you. This morning I learned something new about you. Is this a compliment? Something strange that was noticed? That's what makes it powerful. It's short, simple, and leaves nothing out. Without trying, you're getting their attention by leaving a question. But here's the key. If they ask you what you realized or what made you think of me at that time, you need to control your urge to explain yourself. Only then can you provide them with a well-thought-out response. But even then, your response should be brief, light, and engaging to avoid spilling all your emotions. Stoicism teaches us that we are in charge of our own lives. You can't change how someone responds to your messages, but you can change what you send. Breadcrumbs show confidence, self-control, and emotional intelligence. They let people know that you're interesting. You're not trying to get attention, you're creating it. Let me show you another picture to help you understand this strategy. If you throw a net into the water and drag it aggressively, the fish will scatter. But if you drop a single well-placed hook, the fish will come to you on their own. That's what breadcrumbing is all about. It's subtle, patient, and irresistible. Now I want to pose a question to you. Is it more effective to beg for a response or to leave them wondering what you're thinking? Your breadcrumbs show them that you're confident enough to let them come to you, not desperate. Breadcrumbing isn't manipulation. It's not about playing games or tricking someone into responding. It's about creating genuine intrigue and re-establishing the respect they may have forgotten to give you. When you send a breadcrumb message, you're saying, I'm still here, but I'm not chasing you. My presence is worth wondering about. This approach doesn't just shift their perception, it shifts yours too. It reminds you that you don't need to prove your worth to anyone. Your words, when used wisely, are enough, and your silence, when paired with the right message, can speak louder than any follow-up ever could. I want you to try something today. The next time someone ignores you, stop yourself from sending that long emotional message. Instead, drop a breadcrumb. Keep it short, light, and intriguing. Leave them wondering, and then wait. If they don't respond, you haven't lost anything. You've just reinforced your self-worth. And if they do respond, you'll know it's because you earned their curiosity, not because you begged for their attention. If this strategy resonates with you, I want you to take action right now. Like this video and drop a comment below with the words, Number 1. I want to know if you're ready to stop chasing and start using your words with precision and power. If you haven't already, click the subscribe button to ensure you don't miss the next tips that will completely transform your ability to connect with others. This is just the start. When you know your worth, you don't have to beg for attention. People notice you. 3. Pull the rug and be unpredictable. I am interested in learning what occurs when one is ignored for an extended period of time. Does one begin to sound like a familiar individual? Predictability is boring. It doesn't give the other person a reason to interact with you or pique their interest again. Think about it. Why do we love plot twists in movies? They awaken us, capture our interest, and compel us to concentrate. The same applies when someone ignores you. If they believe they already know what you're going to say next, you need to challenge their assumptions and surprise them. Pulling something out from under someone is not rude or manipulative. It's about sending messages that are bold, surprising, and meant to make them stop and think. When someone ignores you, you're breaking their rules and reinstating surprise. Okay, let's look at this message. Despite being only 4 words long, it has the power to alter their expectations. They won't be thinking about why they didn't reply. Instead, they'll be wondering what they were going to say. You've altered the situation such that they are now interpreting your words, not their own. Consider this. Wow, I didn't expect that from you. This message is vague but powerful. It doesn't accuse or explain, but it plants a doubt. They'll wonder what they expected. Did I do something wrong? What are they talking about? You've posed a question that only you can answer, and the best part is that the more curious they are, the more compelled they will feel to respond. Another excellent example. It is unfortunate that I will have to locate an alternative individual to develop this concept. You would have been an exceptional choice. What makes this so strong? It appeals to their sense of being left out and missing opportunities. Individuals dislike experiencing feelings of displacement or exclusion. This message is light and even funny, but it has a subtle sting that wakes them up. Suddenly, they're not ignoring you. They're asking why they were left behind. The point of this approach is to demonstrate your confidence without waiting for them to affirm your worth. When you are full of energy, people tend to sit up and pay attention, but it's important to remember that time is crucial. When someone ignores you, refrain from responding immediately. Let them notice your absence for a while. Then, when you send a bold, unexpected message, it has an even bigger effect. It wakes them up and makes them rethink what they thought about you. Stoicism teaches us the value of being deliberate in our actions. You don't react emotionally. You don't send messages out of frustration or insecurity. You take your time. You act with precision. And when you pull the rug out from under their feet, it's not out of anger. It's a reminder that they can't take you for granted. It forces them to see you differently. Perhaps they had the impression that you would always be present, persistent, and predictable. But when you send a message that flips their expectations, you show them something new. You show them strength. You show them that you're not afraid to walk away from someone who treats you like an option. Imagine someone watching a movie and knowing every plot twist, scene, and ending. When the story suddenly surprises them, they lean in, pay attention, and start to wonder what happens next. That's the effect you're creating when you pull the rug. This isn't about being petty. It's about reclaiming your power. It's about saying, I'm not here to chase you. I'm here to remind you that I'm someone worth noticing. Now I want to challenge you. The next time someone ignores you, don't send the expected follow-up. Instead, choose one of these options. You know what? Wow, I didn't expect that. I guess I'll have to get this idea from someone else. Keep it short and vague, and most importantly, don't describe yourself. Allow them to ponder, and their curiosity will lead them back to you. At this point, you may be wondering what to do if they still don't answer. That's where Stoicism comes in. Don't let it bother you. Don't let someone else's lack of interest affect you. Define your worth. You've shown confidence and surprise, and that's enough. You're not here to beg for attention. You're here to act in line with your self-respect. So, are you ready to stop being predictable? Are you ready to change the script and show them who you really are? They can't avoid someone like you. If this message speaks to you, please like this video and leave a comment below saying that you're ready to embrace unpredictability and reclaim your power. Also, if you haven't already, click the subscribe button to continue learning these powerful tools to change the game in your favor. Remember, the most attractive people are the ones you can't quite figure out. They're sure they're unexpected, and when you start pulling the rug out from under them, that's exactly who you become. Someone they can't ignore, someone they can't stop thinking about. This is just the beginning. There's more to come, so don't go anywhere else. The hook they can't get off. Have you ever experienced a song becoming entrenched in your mind? You hear it once, maybe just a few notes, and then it plays over and over again, no matter how hard you try to ignore it. That's the power of a hook. It's simple, memorable, and impossible to shake off. Now imagine that your words could have the same effect. What if a single message could stay in their mind and play over and over again, long after they've read it? When someone ignores you, it's not always because they're busy or not interested. Sometimes it's because your message didn't leave a mark or spark their curiosity. Make them think or stand out from the noise. That's the hook. A message that provokes thought and is so captivating that they are compelled to respond. But let's clear something up first. This isn't about being needy or wanting attention. It's about saying it out loud. Stoicism tells us to think things through and not respond too strongly, instead of chasing someone down with boring follow-ups or desperate pleas. You use precise, well-chosen words that prompt them to reflect and feel compelled to respond. I'll show you how it works. Think about sending this message. I learned something new about you that really blows my mind. Read that again. What does it say? It plants a seed. It's not clear, but it's personal. It's both curious and sure, and it makes them wonder what they saw, whether it was good or bad, and what they were thinking about me. They won't be able to shake it off because their brains need closure. Or try this one. I can't believe I never noticed this about you before. This line is irresistible because it makes them wonder the same thing. What did they notice? Is it something important? Why didn't I see this coming? While it's simple, it's full of emotional weight. Here's another example. Are you really good at that thing? Have you ever thought about how you do it? This message serves two purposes simultaneously. This message stimulates their interest and gently compliments them, prompting them to reflect on their strengths, what makes them unique, and how you notice something about them. It draws their attention back to you in a way that feels thoughtful, not desperate. The excellent thing about the hook is that it doesn't ask for attention, it gives it. It's not a matter of whether they'll answer, it's a matter of how long they'll wait before they finally ask, "What do you mean?" Why does this work so well? People are naturally curious and eager to understand the situation. When you leave something out, they can't help but try to fill the gap in their mind. It's like beginning a story and then leaving it unfinished. Their mind keeps going over it, looking for the missing parts. This is where Stoicism becomes invaluable. Your words are strong, but only when you don't say too much. Hook is short and powerful. If you talk too much, people will lose interest. If you talk too little, people will lose confidence. It's important to say just enough to get them interested and let them think of what else to say. Let's get more specific. Connect your hook to something you know they care about. For example, if they love art, you could say, "I just saw a painting that reminded me of something you said, and it's crazy how accurate you were." This message works on many levels. It appeals to their interests. It compliments them gently. It leaves them with an unfinished thought that they need to solve. And it makes them wonder what painting it is. What did I say? How well did I do? Your message now functions as a puzzle rather than a text, and individuals enjoy solving puzzles, particularly those that pertain to their personal lives. But here's how to master the hook. You must be confident when delivering it. When you're sure of yourself, you don't have to rush to get a response. Instead, you can let the message unfold naturally. Your words will stay in their mind like a song they can't stop humming, whether they respond right away or hours later. Which would you prefer? A desperate message that they ignore, or a single line that captivates their attention for hours? The choice is clear. When you use the hook, you're not just sending a message, you're making an impact. You're showing that you're thoughtful, interesting, and worth their attention. And here's the best part. The hook works even when you're not talking. Once you plant the thought in their mind, it stays there. You don't have to do anything else. You've already made your presence known. That's the power of thoughtful, well-crafted words. So I want you to try this today. Instead of sending another predictable message, craft a hook. Keep it short, personal, and curious. Let it hang in the air and do the work for you, and then wait. Don't explain, don't chase. Trust that your words are enough, and if you're still unsure, I'll remind you that people remember how you make them feel. A good hook makes them feel intrigued, special, and curious. It shifts the energy back to you, leaving them wondering why they ever let you slip into the background. If this strategy resonates with you, I want you to take action. Like this video and comment number 1 below if you're ready to start crafting messages they can't ignore. I want to know that you're committed to enhancing your communication skills and taking control of the conversation. If you haven't yet subscribed, please do so to ensure you don't miss the next part of this guide. The truth is, you won't want to miss it. When you master the art of the hook, you'll never have to beg for attention again. Your words will linger, your presence will stand out, and they'll be the ones chasing you. It's time to stop feeling invisible and start being unforgettable. Play it cool, confidence over 5. Play it cool, confidence over desperation. Please tell me something. How often do you overthink when someone ignores you? How often should you try to explain yourself or send another message to get their attention? The truth is that you're desperate. You're surrounded by more whispers than you realize. As soon as you give up your power, you're no longer alive. The sure of themselves, grounded version of yourself. Although you are the one who desires attention, what if you could maintain your composure rather than reacting emotionally? Keeping your cool doesn't mean acting like you don't care. It means knowing your worth so well that you don't need anyone else to confirm it. Stoicism teaches this basic truth. You can't change how someone else acts, but you can change how you react. If you react with cool, collected confidence instead of panic, you send a clear message. I value myself enough not to need attention. Imagine if someone ignored your message for hours or even days without sending a follow-up message to inquire, "Hello, did you see my message?" Even worse, you're angry with me and sent me something unexpected. I thought you'd be busy, so I'll catch up with you later. What's happening here is that you're acknowledging the situation without sounding angry or upset. You're calm, unfazed, and sure of yourself. You're sending them the message that their silence hasn't affected you. In fact, you've moved on with your day. And guess what? That confidence is magnetic. It makes them want to talk to you. I'm curious as to why they aren't pursuing me and why they seem so cool about it. Did I miss something? Here's another powerful line. Emotionally stable people naturally attract others. This isn't passive-aggressive. It's pure confidence. You're subtly telling them that you have something valuable to share, but aren't in a hurry to beg for their time. Now that you've reversed the situation, they're pondering what they intended to express and why it doesn't appear urgent. Suddenly, you're in charge of the conversation. Let me pause and ask how different your life would feel if you stopped chasing. How would it feel to carry yourself with the quiet confidence of someone who knows their worth? When you maintain composure, you embody a self-assurance that doesn't require approval or validation, a self-assurance that asserts, I am sufficient regardless of your perception. When you can react to violence with calm, confidence draws people to you. Being unafraid or upset about it sends a message far more powerful than any words spoken. I'm content with who I am and don't need to show anything to you. Let's discuss the concept of mirroring play, which refers to matching their energy levels without becoming angry. You don't have to respond immediately, and you don't have to sit glued to your phone waiting for them to pick up. Allow yourself to delay your response, not out of spite, but out of self-respect. If they're taking their time, so can you. Remember that being too available sends the wrong message. People will think you don't value your own time, so why should they? Keeping your cool shows them that your life is full of activities and places to go, not just waiting for them to respond. That kind of energy is appealing because it's so rare. Imagine you're at a sale. As someone becomes more determined to win, their chances increase. The higher the price becomes, but when you act calm, composed, and slightly detached, you communicate value without saying a word. You don't beg to be chosen because you know your worth. You let your calm confidence speak for itself. Now I want you to ask yourself, how many times have you lowered your standards to keep someone's attention? How often have you sent messages out of fear of losing someone who's already pulling away? Here's the hard truth. You cannot beg someone into valuing you. The more you chase, the more you confirm their indifference. But when you play it cool, you communicate something much stronger. I'm not here to convince you of my worth. That's your loss. To realize this isn't about being cold or aloof. It's about showing emotional maturity and strength. You don't have to make someone feel bad for ignoring you. You simply let your calm, confident response show that their silence doesn't control you. That's the kind of energy that makes people sit up and take notice. Here's something to try the next time someone ignores you. Instead of overthinking or overreacting, pause, take a deep breath and remind yourself that their silence doesn't define you. Then send a message like, "No worries. I'll catch up with you another time." Short, light, confident. You're not explaining yourself and you're not seeking their approval. You're walking away with grace. And that speaks volumes. So let me ask you, are you ready to stop reacting emotionally and start responding with confidence? Are you ready to stop proving your worth and start showing it? If this message resonates with you, I want you to take action like this video and drop a comment below with the words, number 1. If you're ready to embrace confidence and calm as your new power moves, and if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss the next strategies that will completely change the way you approach conversations. Because here's the truth. When you maintain composure, others will naturally respect you more. Keep your energy steady, your words calm, and your worth unquestionable. People won't ignore you because you demand attention, but because your confidence makes you impossible to ignore. Stay with me. We're not done yet. The next step is even more powerful, and trust me, you'll want to hear it. 6. Bring back the spark of memories in the 6th place. When you feel nostalgic, you should reconnect with people you used to know. When an old song plays, a scent wafts through the air, or you find a photo from years ago, you instantly feel transported back to a time when things seemed simpler, closer, or more alive. That's the power of nostalgia. It goes against logic and hits you right in the heart, bringing up feelings you didn't even know were there. Now, imagine using that same power to reconnect with someone who has grown distant. When someone ignores you, it's easy to feel like the bond you once had has died. In thin air, you start to think that they don't remember you, don't care about you, or even worse, that you don't matter. People don't forget relationships. They forget how they made them feel. Do not send attention-grabbing messages to remind someone of who you were and what you meant to them. Instead, send messages that remind them of what you've already shared. This isn't begging or chasing. It's gently bringing them back to a time when you mattered and the connection was real and undeniable. It's like asking, "Do you remember what we had?" Because I do imagine this. Instead of texting to see why you haven't replied or to make sure everything is okay, you send a message like, "I just remembered that time we got lost and found that tiny cafe. It was still one of the best days of our lives." This message takes them back to that moment where they can maybe still taste the coffee, hear the laughter, or feel the warmth of that shared experience. As an example, Nostalgia paints the picture for them, leaving no room for defense or discomfort. It doesn't ask for anything in return. It just gives them the gift of remembering you, your relationship, and a better version of themselves. Something I observed today reminded me of you, and the amusing statement you made at that party. It still makes me laugh. Why does this work? Because it's personal, it's specific, and it ties your message to a shared moment that meant something. No matter how small, it reminds them that there was joy between you, that there were moments they enjoyed simply being in your presence. Let me ask you, when was the last time you smiled at a memory? When was the last time someone brought up something about you that made you feel seen, remembered, and valued? That's what nostalgia does. It doesn't push, it pulls, it reopens the door to connection in the softest, most human way. Now you might be thinking, what if they don't respond? What if the memory doesn't matter to them? That's where Stoicism steps in. When you send a nostalgic message, you're not trying to control their response. You're not forcing them to engage. You're simply offering a moment of connection and leaving it up to them. You're saying, I remember this. It mattered to me. If it matters to them too, they'll respond. If it doesn't, you can walk away knowing that you stayed true to yourself, calm, confident, and kind. Remember this. Nostalgia works because it connects people to emotions they may have buried or forgotten. Maybe they've been distant because life got in the way. Maybe they've been ignoring you because they thought you no longer mattered. But when you remind them of a shared moment, you cut through all of that noise. You don't argue or demand. You bring back a memory they can't ignore. Let's go a little deeper when you reference a shared experience. You're not just reminding them of a moment. You're reminding them of a feeling. Maybe it was joy, laughter, excitement, or comfort, whatever it was. Nostalgia reawakens it, bringing them back to you in a way that feels natural, not forced. Imagine sending this. I just remembered how calm you stayed during that chaos at work. I always admired that about you. This isn't just nostalgia, it's appreciation. You're reminding them of their strengths, of a time when they felt seen and valued through your eyes. People often forget their best qualities until someone brings them back to life. Nostalgia doesn't just remind them of you. It reminds them of a version of themselves they enjoyed being, and that's powerful now. Want to be clear about one thing. This isn't about manipulating someone's emotions. Stoicism tells us to be honest, speak our truth, and let go of things we can't change. You're not trying to trick them into caring when you send them a nostalgic message. You're just wanting to remind them of the good old days. The message conveys a sense of authenticity. I remember, and maybe you do too. I challenge you to try this the next time you're tempted to send a defensive or needy message. Pause and think of a time when you felt close to that person, whether it was something funny, important, or emotional. Writing a short, thoughtful message that asks them to remember is also a beneficial idea. Keep it simple and don't judge yourself by their response. Consider the number of times someone remembered you and made you feel special. When you give someone nostalgia, you show that you're thoughtful, sure of yourself, and rooted in who you are. You don't need to plead for their attention, as you already understand the connection. You're just holding up a mirror and telling them, remember, if this hits home for you, I want you to do something about it. Now, give this movie a like and leave a comment below with the words, Number 1. You're ready to stop chasing and start making real human connections. If you haven't already, click the subscribe button so you don't miss the next tips that will completely change how you approach conversations in silence. The truth is that nostalgia is timeless and can bring out the best in both you and them. Knowing how to spark it confidently will make you feel less invisible and remind them why they were there. From the start, it was unforgettable. We've come a long way together. Take charge of the silence and connection, As we've progressed through these steps, you've gained a deeper understanding of the power of silence, the power of subtlety to pique interest, and the transformative power of calm confidence. Each step has helped you reclaim your power and change how you approach connection. You don't have to beg for attention to prove your worth. You're here to show up with confidence, not chase after people who've forgotten your value. Now that you have clarity and strength, when someone ignores you, you can act desperate or calm, let their silence hurt you, or use it to show them how valuable they are, or walk away knowing you stood your ground and stayed true to yourself, which is self-respect. Stoicism teaches us that we can only control our own reactions to other people's actions. These strategies aim to make oneself unmistakable by leaving clues that intrigue, deceiving others, evoking nostalgia, and maintaining composure with unwavering confidence. I know my worth, and I won't settle for less. Let me leave you with this thought. The people who are worth your time and energy will notice your absence. They will feel the void when you stop chasing. And the people who aren't worth your time and energy will never deserve your presence in the first place. So I ask you one last time. Are you ready to stop begging for attention and start commanding it? Are you prepared to become a self-assured individual who understands their own worth and doesn't require pursuit? If so, please like this video and leave a comment below with the words "Number 1." Today I want you to take back your power and stop overthinking and over-explaining. If you haven't already, click the subscribe button to make sure you don't miss out on more tools to help you master connection, confidence, and personal growth. Remember that you are not required to be there. When you really believe it, other people can't help but believe it too. So stop chasing, start attracting, and watch as the right people lean in to meet you where you are. Thanks for coming along with me on this trip. I believe in you, your words, your deeds, and your presence. Now it's your turn to believe in yourself. You can do it. Let's keep growing together. Like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Don't give up, stay strong, and remember that the peace and quiet you have today will echo tomorrow.